Maxis Berhad is the leading converged solution provider in Malaysia, providing a variety of high-quality digital services encompassing voice, data, and solution. They are passionate about bringing together the best of technology to help people to always be ahead in an evolving world. Maxis continue to innovate their products and services leveraging from their leading mobile offerings. Maxis Berhad believe in unlocking the full potential of fixed connectivity as well as businesses that look toward digitalization to improve and grow their business. Their end-to-end enterprise option are now also available for fixed connectivity as well as a variety of integrated services like managed services, cybersecurity, cloud computing, and IoT. In order to assist Malaysian firms in using technology and accelerating their business success, they seek to become the chosen information and communication technology, which is ICT partner. Maxis continually invests in network and IT infrastructure to further enhance speeds, coverage, and reliability. They take great pride in having the fastest 4G LTE network in Malaysia and will continue to invest in cutting-edge technology to set themselves apart, such as a high-speed advanced fiber and 5G network. DG Berhad, or as known as DG, commenced operation in Malaysia in May 1995 when it launched its fully digital GSM 1800 MHz services, the first digital mobile communication service offering in Malaysia. DG offers mobile voice, roaming, and value-added services on both prepaid and contract base. On 7 May 2008, DG obtained a 3G spectrum license with all of its rights and benefits via a transfer from Time.com for a consideration of 27.5 million new shares. In March 2009, DG launched 3G broadband services for PCs, while 3G voice and data services for mobile phones were introduced in October 2009. The Foreign Investment Committee and the Ministry of Energy, Communication and Multimedia authorized the transaction in 2001 when Telenor raised its ownership in DG through a voluntary partial takeover bid from 32.9% to 61%. The investment in DG climbed to 10% as a result of the 3G spectrum transfer in May 2008 and an early placement exercise. Later, this shareholding was decreased to 3.5%. Telenor's ownership stake in DG was decreased to 49% at the same time. As a result, DG is no longer required to adhere to the 30% Bumiputra equity criterion established by the Foreign Investment Committee and is now in compliance with the 49% foreign equity condition. DG had 11 million mobile subscriptions as of December 31st, 2013, while the estimated mobile penetration, which is SIM cards. Individual license renewals may be approved by the Malaysian Minister of Information, Communication and Culture on the advice of the Malaysian Communication and Multimedia Commission, which is SKMM. DG received a 210 MHz portion of the 2600 MHz spectrum to be used for LTE-related services. The allocation of 2600 MHz spectrum is in effect from January 1st, 2013 through December 31st, 2017. DG intends to free up and refarm its existing 1,800 MHz spectrum for wider LTE coverage while relying on 2,600 MHz spectrum for LTE capacity in densely populated locations in order to provide LTE services in the most cost-effective way possible.
As for the MFRS 116 in Maxis Berhad, which is the property, plant and equipment or PPE, are depreciated on the straight line method, and the estimated useful life of the PPE are as follows: buildings 44 years to 50 years, telecommunications equipment 2 years to 25 years, motor vehicles 5 years, office furniture fittings and equipment 3 years to 7 years. The capital work in progress and capital inventories comprise mainly telecommunication equipment, information technology equipment, and renovations. They are reclassified to the respective categories of property, plant and equipment or PPE and depreciated when they are ready for their intended use. At each reporting date, the group assesses whether there is any indication of impairment. Where an indication of impairment exists, the carrying amount of the assets is assessed and written down immediately to its recoverable amount. The provision for site rectification works is based on management's best estimate and the past trend of cost for rectification works to be carried out to fulfill new regulatory guidelines and requirements imposed after network cells sites were built. The estimated expenses of demolishing and removing the structures from the selected areas and restoring these sites make up the provision for the decommissioning works. Responsibility arises either during the installation process or because of using the things for a specific amount of time. The estimated amount is determined after taking into consideration the time value of money, risk specific to the provision and the current conditions of the site. The initial estimated amount is capitalized as part of the cost of plant, property or equipment or PPE. As for the disclosure, during the financial year, the group revised the useful life of certain telecommunications equipment range from 4 years to 10 years, to remaining useful lives range from 1 to 7 years. The revision was accounted for as a change in accounting estimate, and as a result, the depreciation charge for the financial year has increased by 10 million ringgit Malaysia.
Next, we move to DG.com Berhad. For recognition, except for freehold land and capital work in progress, except property, plant and equipment are valued at cost less any accumulated depreciation and impairment loss. Spending related to the item acquisition is included in the cost of the item, only when it is likely that the group will get future economic advantage connected with the item, and when the cost of the item can be accurate estimate are subsequent costs included in the asset carry amount and recognized as a distinct asset respectively. The carrying amount of the similarity, if the recognition conditions are met, the cost of a major inspection is recorded in the asset carry amount as a replacement. All additional repair and upkeep expenses are recorded in profit or loss when they are incurred. Freehold land is not developed because it has endless usable life. For measurement, after the time value of money is taken into account when calculating the estimated amount, the initial estimate sum is capitalized as a portion of the cost of property, plant and equipment. When discounting is used, the increase in provision cost by passing time is recognized as financial cost. The anticipated usable life and amortization of depreciation cost may alter in the future. As a result of technological development, modernization initiative, projected level of utilization, competition, market condition, and other factors, the average usable life and residual value as this asset may change. The group profit for the financial year were very robustly. It's about 3.5% if the projected useful life of this asset were 5% different from management forecast. For disclosure, according to Note 23.1, the group purchased property, plant and equipment for an overall cost of 9,063.8 million, for which 11.9 million is related to the contingency of site decommissioning and restoration expenditure before arriving at the cost of property, plant and equipment during the financial year ended 21 December 2021. Government grants of 230.8 million relating to the additional of eligible property, plant and equipment were subtracted. For the sum category of the property, plant and equipment, the cost and accumulated depreciation were changed to prior financial year to match the category in asset register.
For the MFRS 140, which is about investment property, there are three conditions of recognition. The first one is lease term. In determining the enforceable period of the lease, the group will consider the contract's product economics, which stated that the contract is considered to be enforceable after the termination date, and also consider whether each party has the authority to cancel the lease without the other's consent and with only a little penalty. The second condition is finance lease. In order to show a steady periodic rate of return, lease income is recognized over the course of the lease using the net investment technique. And the third condition is operational lease. If a lease does not substantially transfer to the lessee the risks and benefits associated with ownership of an underlying asset, the group classifies the lease as an operating lease, which is right of use assets or ROU assets. The ROU assets are initially measured at cost, comprising the following terms. The first one is the initial measurement of lease liabilities amount. The second one is all lease payments made at or before the state date minus any received lease incentive. The third one is any initial direct cost, and the fourth one is decommissioning or restoration cost. The ROU assets are subsequently measured at cost, less accumulated depreciation and impairment loss, if any. The investment property of Maxis Berhad were disposed by using fair value measurements. The fair values are categorized into three different levels in a fair value hierarchy based on the inputs used in the valuation techniques as follows. For the level 1, the unadjusted quoted price in active markets for identical assets or liabilities. As for the level 2, inputs other than quoted prices included within level 1 that are observable or for the assets or liabilities either directly or indirectly. And level 3, inputs for the assets or liabilities that are not based on observable market data. Since Maxis Berhad is an entity that applies the fair value model, therefore, they shall disclose a reconciliation between the carrying amounts of investment property at the beginning and at the end of the period by showing the following term. The first one is additions, disclosing separately those additions resulting from acquisitions and those resulting from subsequent expenditure recognized in the carrying amount of an asset. The second term is additions resulting from acquisitions through business combinations. The third term is assets classified as held for sale or included in the disposal group classified as held for sale in accordance with MFRS 140 with MFRS 5 and other disposals. The next term is net gains or losses from fair value adjustments. The next one is the net exchange differences arising on the translation of the financial statements into a different presentation currency and on translations of a foreign operation into the presentation currency of the reporting entity. As for the next one, transfers to and from inventories and owner-occupied property, and the last one is other changes.
Next, we move to Digicom Berhad for MFRS 140. For the recognition, with regard to each short-term lease of telecommunication network site, equipment and billboard space, the group applied the short-term lease recognition exemption. Additionally, is extend to the low-value asset recognition exemption to lease of office furniture and storage area. Short-term lease payment and lease for low-value asset are recorded as expenses on straight-line basis for the cost of the lease. Operating lease are defined as agreement whereby the group does not substantially transfer all the risks and reward associated with asset ownership. Due to the running nature, rental income is included in the revenue is a statement of profit or loss as it calculated a straight line basis for the cost of the lease. Initial direct expenses paid in connection with negotiation and setting up the operating lease are added to the carrying value as lease asset are recognized through the lease period on the same schedule as rental income. Rent that are contingent upon future event are recognized as income when they are earned. Next, for the measurement, asset held under a ROU are valued at cost less any accrued depreciation and impairment loss, and after taking into account any disbursement and lease liability. The amount of a lease obligation recognized as initial direct cost include the lease payment and made before the commencement date in any lease invested or obtained or include in the cost of ROU asset. The ROU asset are likewise vulnerable to depreciation. For information on the accounting procedure to non-financial asset impairment, the group recognized lease liability at the lease start date calculated at the present value of remaining lease payment. If the lease period reflect the group assessing the option to terminate. The lease payment include fixed less any lease interrupted due to the payment of the termination penalties. For the disclosure, the group employ valuation methodologies that maximize the use of pertinent observable input and minimize the use of observable input depending on the situation and for which there is adequate data available to estimate fair value. We have 3 levels. For the level 1 is code adjusted market price in active market for identical asset or liability. For the level 2, valuation technique for which the lowest level input that is significant to the fair value measurement is directly or indirectly observable. For the level 3, valuation technique for which the lowest level input that is significant to the fair value measurement is observable.
Next up, difference between selected MFRS and AMMAR. Okay, the for borrowing cost MFRS 116 require borrowing cost directly attributable to date, obligation, acquisition, consideration or production of qualifying assets to be capitalized as part of the cost of asset. While the AMMAR or MPERS require all borrowing costs to be recognized and expenses as an expenses in profit or loss. Next up, for the differentiation revaluation increase and decrease of property, plant and shipment equipment. Require entities to recognize in it other comprehensive income and accumulated in equity. That is for MFRS 116, and for the AMMAR requires entity in account for revaluation increase or decrease related to revaluation surplus in net asset equity with limitation for revaluation decrease. For MFRS 140 and AMMAR is a national measurement of investment property. Cost of investment property is purchase price and any directly attributable expenditure. That is for MFRS 140. For the AMMAR, public sector entity may acquire any investment property to non-sensitization. Okay, next up. Some sequence measurement of an investment property provide interpretive policy dealing to is the fair value method or the cost model. Entities must apply the according policy exclusively to all of us investment property. Also for MFRS 140 and for the AMMAR requires entity to measure investment property. Far unless if an entity cannot measure the far value reliability on an agony basis, the entity account for it using the cost model. Next up, for the MFRS 140 and AMMAR, the differentiate is between presentation and disclosure. For FERS MFRS 140 requires the entity to declare the fair value of investment property measure using the cost model, although entities the cost model entity will still need to determine the fair value for disclosure purpose. For MPERS require entities to present an investment property and not measure at fair value, especially in the statement of financial position.
As the conclusion of the financial reporting assignment, it was a fantastic experience. First and foremost, we have learned more deeper about these two companies, which is DG Berhad and Maxis Berhad. As for you know, DG Berhad were commenced operation in Malaysia in May 1995 when it launched its fully digital GSM 1800 MHz services, the first digital mobile communication services offering in Malaysia, while Maxis Berhad is the leading coverage solution provider in Malaysia, providing a variety of high-quality digital services encompassing voice, data, and solutions. Besides, from this assignment, we also get to know the profit of these two companies had made by analysis their annual financial report. We also studied their annual report on how their company comply with the MFRS, which is MFRS 116 and MFRS 140. In this two content of MFRS, we analyze three main points that we need to ensure on how companies comply with the MFRS. The three main points are recognition of each company and how the measurement of each company and disclosure of each company. From that, we know how MFRS functioning in these two companies, not just about MFRS, but we also could find the differences between the selected MFRS and MPERS. We provide 5 differences between MFRS and MPERS in our assignment, which are borrowing costs, revaluation increases and decreases of property, plant and equipment, initial measurement of investment property, subsequent measurement of investment property, and presentation and disclosures. Thankfully, everyone on our team has been really cooperative while working on this assignment. We would like to thank Madam Nurul Huda for the assistance and support in completing this assignment.